got, in marble playing as in other respects, the best man of the village. But there was a slip of a girl who was even better. During the evening she accumulated nearly half of the entire marble supply, and at length these two met for a test of skill. It was a long drawn out game. I had never seen anything to equal the interest of both players and spectators. Not even at Brown's lumber yard, when the stakes were a boy's most precious possessions, cornelian stone taws. No one thought of sleep except a few of the old men and women, who dozed off at intervals with their heads between their knees. The lateness of the hour, the bizarre setting for a game so linked with memories of boyhood, combined to give me an impression of unreality. I had the feeling that the island and all the people on it might vanish at any moment, and the roar of the surf resolve itself into the rumble of street traffic in some gray city. And though it were the very city where marbles are made, where in the length and breadth of it could there be found anyone who knew the use of them, with either the time or the inclination to play, I might search it street by street. To the soot-stained suburbs I might go on, to the green country, perhaps, visit all the old-time marble-playing rendezvous from one coast to the other, with no better success. And though I passed through 1,000 villages of the size of Rutiaro, could at evening's amusement be provided in any one of them for men, women, and children, at an outlay of $4 American, the possibility would not be worth considering. People at home live too fast in these days, and they want too much. I could imagine Tino, in a sober mood, giving a grudging assent to this. "But, man," he would have added, "I wish they had more of their marble-making enthusiasm at Rutiaro. I would put in here 3 times a year, and fill the Winship with copra to within an inch of the main boom every trip." Moy Ling had enough of it for the whole island, it seemed to me. His ovens were opened as the tournament came to an end, and for half an hour he was kept busy passing out crisp brown loaves and jotting down the list of creditors in his account book. It must have been nearly midnight. The crowd began to disperse. Faery joined me, smiling ruefully, holding out empty hands. He had lost all of his marbles to a mite of a girl whom he could have put in his vest pocket had he owned one. His wife teased him about it on the way home, laughed heartily at his explanation and excuses. They discussed the events of the day long after the other members of the household had retired to their mats on the veranda. At last I heard their quiet breathing, and a strip of light from the last quarter moon revealed them asleep, 2 massive heads on the same pillow. I lay awake for a much longer time, thinking of one thing and another, of my friend Crichton at Tanao, the loneliest atoll in the world, I should say, of the Winship far out to sea, homeward bound, with 140 tons of copra in her hold, of Tino with his fits of temper and his passion for trade, which blinded him to so much of the beauty and the joy of life. But after all, I thought, it is men like Tino who keep wheels turning and boats traveling the seas. If he were to die, his loss would be felt. There would be an eddy in the current of life around him. But men like Crichton or myself, we should go down in our time, and the broad stream would flow over our heads without a ripple to show where we had been, without a bubble rising to the surface to carry with it for a moment the memory of our lives. It was not a comforting thought, and I tried to evade it, but I realized that my New England conscience was playing a part in these reflections, and was not to be soothed in any such childish manner. "How much copra have you ever produced or carried to market?" it appeared to say. I admitted that the amount was negligible. "How do you mean to justify your presence here?" was the next question, and before I could think of a satisfactory answer, "What good will come of this experience, either to yourself or to anyone else?" That was a puzzler until I happened to think of Findlay's South Pacific Directory. I remembered that his information about Rutiaro was very scant. The general remarks confined, as I have already said, to a single sentence: a lonely atoll, numbering a population of between 75 and 100 inhabitants. As a sop to my conscience, it occurred to me that I might write to the publishers of that learned work, suggesting that, in the light of recent investigations, they add to that description fond of playing marbles. Chapter 7.